when it snows any at all.
Yeah. This whole state. I mean, okay, there's a small chunk of the state that can deal with ice, but most of the state just doesn't understand it at all. So
Okay.
we have ice on the ground, everything's closed.
Hello.
He's your own.
Robert, I've been confused about things before. Do AD evaluation comments not go to the mailing list?
Typically do. Sometimes, or he can send things directly to the draft alias, but
interesting. I didn't realize that we had a choice. So I'm looking, and we did.
I think you're gonna have to look in.
Yeah, I went to the draft offers and the chairs. So the working group theoretically has not seen this yet, so I can forward that.
Okay.
And that will come in handy soon.
So we are expecting Steve. I figure we're waiting to really start until we have it at least.
Steve and Dave is also coming soon.
Yeah.
But we need Steve.
This is going to be a good year.
I hope so. I am still late on a lot of things, but yeah.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, I owe you so much because you do all the stuff and I always postpone my own work, so I am a bit ashamed about that. But yeah, I keep wanting to work on FFV1 and Matroska for sure, and a bit FLAC also. We need to finish that. And Martin, I owe you also a lot on FLAC and BWF meta-edit and so on. I am also late on that.
Well, it was nice working on with you on FLAC. So was always input was always very helpful. Hi, Steve.
Steve had media for just a moment. There he comes.
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. And we can wait another moment for Dave to join. Otherwise, I think we should get started.
Okay.
But we can start also, I guess. I don't know.
Cool. So we can at least start by observing this as an IETF activity and covered by Notewell. We could also reasonably ask if anybody has had a chance to read the December interim minutes and has any comments.
No comments.
Oh,
Well, I
cool.
read them, but the latest email you said something about rechartering, but
Yes.
read I read in the minutes that it wasn't necessary, but then the mail said something about doing it anyway. So I don't know whether I missed something in the minutes.
Or he definitely wants to recharter and wants to have the charter to have much stronger motivation for why this work is being done at the IETF. So that's part of the conversation I want to have today.
Okay, but if it wasn't discussed in last meeting, then I think the minutes are okay. Otherwise, I think it should be in there.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. Yeah, I think the minutes are fine. Also, well, I didn't attend the meeting, so I'm not sure.
Cool.
Any objections to moving forward with those minutes?
No.
And I just signed Dave Rice in, so
Thank you.
cool. So just looking at our agenda for the meeting, Steve, we have tag -20 in ISG evaluation with several discussed positions. This is normal. And I wanted to start by saying that what of the comments that you've received, including discussed positions, which ones do you need us to talk about on the meeting?
I think all of them are addressed except for one, which I call the Latinized names. You remember we have said that the character of the tag name should be in a capital UTF-8 letters.
Right.
Except it doesn't exist. There's no way to define that properly. So we have two options. We removed the capital thing. That's one option. And I went the other way, which is to use only the Latin alphabet letters, so A to Z. So that would be A to Z, 0 to 9, and underscore, and that's all the characters for the assigned tags. That means people are free to use whatever name they want in UTF-8, but the ones that make it to the IANA registry should be just A to Z, 0, 9, and underscore. Given I think that was the original idea of having the rule to have capital letters. There was not even the idea that could be other alphabets or whatever. Maybe some language they don't even have capital letters. I don't know. So yeah, I think so. I did a pull request to do that. Waiting for comments, and if there's no comments, I'll go with that, and then I think that's the last blocking part from all the comments. Once that's merged, I'll do a new upload of the draft.
I don't know if you intentionally waved the red carpet in front of the bull with the comment about, those characters should be enough for anybody.
Yes, on purpose.
Yeah.
And Steve, can you remind me which PR that is?
Hold on.
It's 1065.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And like I said in the PR, so that would be the rules for now. And if somebody objects, that's other alphabets should be allowed, then we can publish a new IETF document and say, now it's allowed to have this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, FLAC does something similar with Vorbis tags. I don't know whether it's maybe you could use the reasoning that FLAC uses to do so.
In the text, there's not even reasoning. It's just the rules are that way. It's just that UTF. Basically, the tag is a UTF-8 EBML element. So you would think you could put any UTF-8 in there, but the rule was always to have capital letters. I checked on the Wayback Machine, very, very old versions of the document, and it was always there. So people are supposed to be using that already, and they must have assumed that it's just Latin letters. And then even if they use something else, it's not the official tags, what is now called the assigned tags. So their tags are still valid and it's fine. It's just not the assigned ones.
Hey, Steve, I have a vague memory that at one point the document said, I mean, this is well over a decade ago, I thought it said that if it was in all capital letters, that meant it was an official tag, but if it was mixed case, like if there was any lowercase, then it was considered an unofficial tag. And now if
there was no such text. The only text I put, I think, was it? Yeah, in the merge request, in pull request, there's a link. And I'm sure if you go back in time even further on that page, it just says the same. It just says that people should use capital letters, and that's it. There was nothing else. But that means that if they use something else, that means it's not
not assigned. Sure. There's no guarantee that somebody else can't squat on it. I mean, that's the whole point of having a registry is you've got a name that points you to a document that tells you what the name means, and everyone who is making the agreement that that's what that name means and it won't be used for anything else.
Technically, we could have no rule at all, which is also fine, except if you want to avoid collision between private and public tags, then it's better to have a rule for public, so people who want to have private tags, they know not to use that.
Robert, jump in here anytime, but I'm remembering the IETF having really, really bad experience trying to distinguish in standards specifications between public tags and private tags and things like that. Is that still the thinking?
The language that Steve's been moving towards, which is there are assigned code points and then there are unassigned code points, and the specification talks about assigned ones, and anything unassigned is undefined.
Yeah.
Is the shape of the language that RFCs that have been recently published have used.
And since the rule is simpler, so there's no UTF-8 capital, I added ABNF notation to have like it's very clear from that what you can use and how you can use without even reading the text. And I think it's the spirit of the original spec.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's arguing with you at this point. So
yeah, if there's no comment or whatever, I'll just push that probably this weekend. I'll see. Let's force them this weekend, so we'll see. But yeah, I'll publish the new version soon, and then the new round of comments.
Right. Most of the ADs won't really look until there's a new version of the draft in the repository. So
Okay.
Yeah. So, Steve, how close do you think you are to being ready to submit a -21?
Dash, how many did you say? 21. Yeah, it's just pushing some buttons. I'm just waiting for comments. I mean, I leave time for people to
Okay.
react. I mean, I only do that on Sundays lately, so I also leave
Okay.
one week to people to react.
So this week is our big chance to comment
Yeah.
within the working group, which is going to be important. Okay, cool. Thank you for the work that you've done on that. There was a bunch. Robert, I am looking at the data tracker page for this, and I am what? Yeah, sorry. I am. Where am I? Oh, sorry. I've managed to confuse myself. I'm sorry. What I'm remembering, Robert, what I'm stammering around about as I'm trying to click on the right thing, is that there's only about 7 or 8 positions. Yeah, it looks like we have 7 positions. 6 discusses and a yes.
the no objections are positions.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, everybody's balloted.
Yes. Thank you. That was the answer I was hoping for. Man, I need to spend more time looking at the data tracker than I have this past year. Cool. Thank you. So we could be practically finished. We just need to have a submitted version in the repository and close with each AD on that has a discussion.
And I am.
Yes.
Quick time check. We're 20 minutes in.
And I think that this is honestly what I expected to spend a significant amount of time on, based on last week. So I think we're doing fabulously. That would get us to the Codec draft, which we have. We got our AD evaluation back. I saw it yesterday. It went through from publication requested to AD evaluation, AD follow-up in like 6 hours. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. Was talking with Robert earlier that the AD evaluation comments did not go to the mailing list. They only went to the draft authors and the chairs, which means that if you're not a draft author, you haven't seen the comments. So we have a good reason to hold off on that and let people think about the comments we've gotten back. I did have one question for and Robert, this is probably a clue. A clue is great. IETF standards not freely available. Sorry, IEEE standards and ISO standards not freely available. What are we talking about with that these days with the ISG? Because I mean, this is like MPEG-4 audio.
So from an evaluation, it comes down to an evaluation perspective. And at least with IEEE, we've got an agreement that if we need access to something for the ADs or particular reviewers, that access can be granted for the purposes of the review. I don't have in my head what our status is with ISO. I think I vaguely remember from a long time ago, it depends on which piece of ISO.
It does, but I think Stephen Vanger is our liaison with the right pieces for that. So so I think what needs to happen is I need to update the Shepherd write-up and just say this, these things are not freely available, but copies are available for people doing evaluations for standardization in the IETF. And just make sure that all the ADs see that.
Yeah, you should reach out and make sure that that's still true with Stefan in particular.
Yeah.
But does that mean that the ISO can give the documents to a few people at the IETF so they can read it while doing the RFC document?
So I know that we've got that arrangement with some groups like IEEE, but we are vaguely remembering that this exists for parts of ISO, and we're going to have to.
Yeah, it's by study group or whatever the organization is, because we have different liaisons for different study groups.
Yeah, for most of them, you can always find some draft online, but of course there are drafts, so then you never know what's different between the draft and the final version. But that's usually pretty correct. Yeah.
So the biggest thing here is that Spencer will confirm that the availability of ISO ITU standards for evaluation. But I mean, this is the stuff AVT Core lives on, so it's sort of a solvable problem.
And in this case, again, there's also I need to read the draft in question and see what the context is. But typically, you end up in these situations when you're referring to drafts like this, where you're specifying something where you're saying, here is a box, and you can put bits into this box that are talked about over there, right? And the point of the IETF specification is define the box, not necessarily define what you do with the bits in the box. So if we're in that shape, then it's not as critical that we have a freely available standard that we can refer to. We can argue around the part of the protocol we're defining is fully specified. But I'll have to go look to see if we're actually in that state.
Yeah, one note about that is that these are normative references in the documents.
Mm-hmm.
So that could also be an issue. These and the ISO one are the only ones we have that have no link to download or PDF or Wayback Machine, whatever. There's no link. It just says that it's the ISO document with that number, date, etc., title. But there's no link. If we put a link to the ISO website, does it help?
No, I don't think it will. We'll see what and I can also ask the RC editor if they've got any memory of past times that this question's been answered. But my instinct is that no, it won't help.
Agree. Cool. So that's our codex draft. Our chapter codex is we are returning to this in 2026. I will just leave that as where we are. And now that we're in 2026, just to remind us about that. And FFE1 before, people will have time. We are waiting. We are still waiting on. We are still waiting on synchronization with implementations for that draft. And Robert, did you get an answer from Ori about whether we are going to operate with dateless milestones?
Yeah, he said that that's going to be fine. That we should expect that when we go through the recharting process.
Oh, okay. So. Cool. Is there anything we needed to say following up with the errata reports from last time?
I haven't pushed on these. Do we have recommendations for Ori for all of them?
Okay.
That's the question. Do we, if there are any that we don't have recommendations for Ori, then we should talk about them.
No, we had recommendations for both. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. And that would get us to Matroska V5, I think.
So let me ask that we spend a few minutes giving me a stronger feel than I have right now for why this is V5 and not just, and now we're going to talk about more things you can do with V4. Is there actually a V5 that's going to materially appear in the protocol somewhere that's breaking? And then if you hand this to a V4 implementation, it will say no?
So from a technical, well, not really, but not the format, but the processing, we have a big XML file where each element have its Matroska version. So everything that was not in V4, the RFC 9559, is marked as version 5. So we know that these elements don't go in there. It's how we process the data. So they're put aside. And when we do the other document, we only use these. But we could put version 4 for them and change just put in something in the Excel that says it's in the new document. And if it's not that, that means it's in the old document.
Well, there's a real reason for versioning, and it sounds like the real reason for versioning is there's a document definition. If you don't understand that document, you ignore this element. Is that the general rule?
That's basically the most work is just changing that, so that when we process the things, it ends up in one document or the other, and that's it. Because basically, so Matroska we're on version 4, and basically I think when we went from 3 to 4, I'd have to look at the XML, but that was like adding a simple block, something like that, something that was very new and that if you don't handle that, you cannot really play a file. And since then, every time we add something new, it's meant to be backward compatible. So, and this is the case here as well, with just adding new elements. If they're not there, it doesn't matter. Adding
All right.
new
So I
codecs.
think we need to spread the concept that we're not talking about a protocol version, because that's what people hear when they see.
Yeah, it's
We're
that's
talking
basically the same thing with more inside.
we're talking about a tag for new elements, and I think that's if we can get those words into the description of what we're building, so that people don't just make assumptions about what version means as they're doing evaluation, it will help a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just for Steve, a lot of places in the IETF, versioning is a big deal. So if you think about the difference between HTTP version, 1.1 and 2 and 3, that's kind of what they're visualizing when we say Matroska v5. It sounds like that version numbers have been kind of a convenience for the way that implementers talk about how much of Matroska an implementation will
New
handle.
sets, new backwards compatible sets. Now because I expect that somebody's going to ask me this question. A version space that has numbers implies linearity, and from what I've heard of this description, the only reason that we have linearity is that there's a sequence of defining documents. But it would be possible with the mechanic that's defined here to actually have a tree instead of a line. And you could have a set of documents that have different features in them, as long as they maintain backwards compatible, and you could have implementations that, the power set over this set of possible documents. I'm assuming we're trying not to do that just through social influence and have a line, so that the expectations that an archivist can pick something up and play it back without knowing a bajillion different things is a more reasonable expectation.
Well, there's two things to that. So the first one is that Matroska v5 would also be a marketing thing, that like most players support Matroska v4, and do your player support Matroska v5? That means the new things we added. So that's one thing to consider. It's not that important. And also during the making of the IETF document, there was a lot of new elements that we added in v4 that didn't actually exist, like all the colorimetry, transfer function, white points, etc., luminance. So even the old v4 and the one we have now, we added a lot of elements already.
Mm-hmm.
So Robert, for us to do a recharter request, we've been talking about this would be v5 of Matroska, whatever that means. Is what we are talking about now. Basically, here are extensions that we would make to Matroska. Is it extensions plus optimizations?
Well, it's backwards compatible things, these new elements, if they hit a player that doesn't know them, it will ignore them and nothing bad will happen. Right?
Yeah.
It's like in HTML, when you add a new tag, it just doesn't change that it's HTML and how you interpret it is just new tag. You can handle it or you don't.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, there was a period of time where somebody would have insisted that we do this with XML namespaces, but the XML experts right now say don't.
We have good news for you.
Steve, do you want to tag a Matroska new version for just a bunch of new EBML, so Matroska elements? So not Matroska v4.1 or .2?
What I would like is to have something to refer to, that to tell people, do you support this new thing or not? But if we have a document that's RFC something, and then you say, do you support Matroska RFC something, is just the same as do you support Matroska v5. It's just to know what kind of, are you up to date with the spec and to the latest features, etc. For me, that's the only thing, that to have something that differentiates with the past.
So it's essentially a feature set, and that's going to be an interesting conversation for me to have, getting the ISG to understand that that's the context that we're using, the meaning of version that we're using. So the IETF's got a big toolbox for other ways that you could signal versioning, or capabilities is the word that.
So it is more or less a milestone. So we just freeze a list of Matroska elements in V5, V6, and so on.
Technically, we can all the new things, all the things that are in a new document, we could have one document per thing, so per feature, and they would. The idea is that they would end up adding an element or a codec in some YANA registry that already exists, and it's one document that adds something, and that's it. We're putting everything in one document, so, but really the version 5, it doesn't matter. The number itself, it doesn't matter. It's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Robert, we have not been doing extension documents the way we are with codecs and chapter codecs and things like that. That was something we started, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It really was one big kind of document before that. So I think for us to be thinking about this in terms of extensions, and that if saying this version, Matroska number 5, Matroska version 5, that is really a marketing concept, which means that you would expect this to support these 5 new object types. So if you want to use those 5 object types, you should be asking people for implementations that are V5. But if you accidentally fed those object types to a V4 implementation, nothing bad would happen. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In any case, we have a doc type with version for saying that if it is compatible or not.
Yeah, but
Don't we?
I mean, we don't even have to change the value at all.
Yeah, it will be more V4 update 1, update 2, and so on in practice.
Yeah, but you just have to have a name, and it would be hard to tell people that in order to play this back, you need to know all of this set of names, right? So I'm seeing the strong argument for it here is this linear collection of a set of names that just happen to use the word version that basically defines a feature set that could be used by this particular player.
Yeah.
So,
The real version 5 would be if we use the rational numbers for timestamps. Right now, they're basically floating numbers or nanoseconds.
so something that would be a breaking change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if we really wanted to use that, that would be, there's a way to do it backward compatible, but it would be mostly breaking or different enough that it warrants a new version, so to really signal in the file that something special that you have to handle is used.
Mhm.
That would be really
the capability negotiations where you have some noun that, I'm sorry, some verb that says I require these things, right? And we currently don't have one of those, right? Right.
Yeah. For the moment, the idea is more to have an update, so some new elements. But
and like I said, of the new things, since the CELLAR is about like archival, the emphasis element I think is important, because when you rip a CD or you record a vinyl or something like that, you need to tell which emphasis was used. If it was kept as this, because it needs to be undone during playback. When you record from a CD player or a vinyl or turntable, it will undo it for you. But sometimes one CD, if you rip a CD that has some emphasis, I think most ripping programs don't undo the emphasis because it's very rare and nobody cares. But they exist. I have one of them. So that's the kind of thing that I think is important for archival to tag the files.
Looks like Dave's having a hard time staying connected.
It's gone.
Yeah, he's been jumping on and off, so I suspect he's having
Ah.
client issues or connectivity issues, one or the other. All right, okay. So I thank you. I am in a better position to explain what it is that we're trying to do. And do you want me to go find people that have solved similar problems in other space and get them to come talk about trade-offs, or are you pretty set already on the design that we're going to just maintain backwards compatible? And you talked about possibly making this breaking change, but is that really on the table or not? Is that something that we need to have a discussion about?
There's a discussion for the rational numbers, but it's not planned for now until we have a good solution, technical solution that we don't have yet, and that will be in another document anyway, so that's not for now.
Okay, so I think I will go start rooting around for people that have worked on defining XML containers and coming up with some sort of requirement thing that they needed to express, and see how that's been done in other protocols. So,
okay.
But thank you for the time talking about the way the version is using. I can speak to people more cogently now about why we're describing it the way we're describing it. The next thing I'd like to spend a little bit more time on, and I was really, really hoping that Dave would be here, so maybe we can wait until I can bring it back up if he's able to reconnect, because I'm still looking for a strong motivation for why this is why IETF is the best place for this to be. What is IETF bringing to this versus what is, the
For us, so Dave and I, IETF is the good place. Mostly, it is also about open source. We want to be open as much as possible, and IETF is the most open standardization body. And for us, it is very good to be hosted by IETF for showing how publicly everything we do.
Yeah, so I understand why it's great for Matroska that the work is happening at IETF. What I'm really looking for is what is the expertise that the IETF is bringing that motivates the ISG doing these reviews as opposed to some other body doing these reviews, right?
IETF is providing the expertise in standards, so the reviewing process, all the big process from IETF is very useful for us to having a higher quality. But yeah, I would like to that Dave is showing us.
I will follow up with you directly after the meeting.
Well, Robert, do you need a shared document that we can actually put words in and say, is this true?
I mean, I'm happy to have such a thing.
That seems like a.
I would reach out to maybe Michael, like when the original conversation, when this group was very first chartered, somebody had to convince an AD that this was a good idea. And I think there were some words that happened at that time that may not be in the current charter text, and I'd like to find them.
Dave is back.
Dave's back. Sorry, my laptop died, and when it came back on, the room reconnected me, but it seemed empty, so I assumed it ended. But
the cool people are here. Welcome back.
So Dave, real quick, the topic that you jumped into the tail end of is, do you remember when this work first came to the IETF, what the arguments were presented to the area director that agreed to sponsor it and create the original charter for why doing this at the IETF was the right thing to do?
Yes, I remember this. This was, I mean, Jerome was there, maybe Steve too. But this was, I don't know, 2015. But like, I remember when meeting the working group, they had a lot of questions like, why don't we go to SMPTE instead for something like this? I don't know. It's a mixture of reasons. I think part of the discussion was like, because the formats we are using are lossless, that lossless media doesn't have as strong of a place in the internet. But like there was an argument that this is always a reason that is declining. Like we can see that now Spotify
transporting these things just fine, right? The class of arguments that I'm looking for are that we've got XML experts, we've got UTF-8 experts, we've got protocol versioning experts, the conversation that we were having earlier, that could come join the group and improve the work and make it more useful for people across the internet. And I don't know if those arguments were part of that original decision to charter the work here.
I mean, I've had experience working in SMPTE working groups, but like now that I've had a lot more experience in IETF, I can see that the openness of the work is such a substantial benefit, because in SMPTE, like sometimes we won't be completely aware of the expertise that we need. But in IETF, because we are working in the open and people can, if they are curious, they can look upon our work. I mean, like one example that was coming up in the EBML specification is that we needed to create some sort of expression to define like a float value. I can't remember what this value is called, but this, this person sort of jumped into the conversation and was like, yes, this is this is the way to describe the what are the parts of the float, the Menteza and the other values.
Right.
But I mean, I didn't read everyone else in the working group, but I was just surprised that there was an opportunity for people with expertise that I didn't even know existed to to sort of jump in, play their role, and take a step out. And I don't know. I think there are several examples of that happening in different areas, especially when we have institutions, like Google, that are also invested in formats like, Matroska and its sort of subset called WebM.
Okay. I guess the last thing, I'll take this into the conversations I'm having with Ori. The last thing that I'd like to get people to consider is holding one of these meetings at an actual IETF plenary meeting, one of the big 3 meetings that go around the world. If you can be there in person, great. If not, there's the ability to have remote participation. The attracting this expertise, one of the best tools for that is having a conversation in a place where people would overhear it.
Yep.
And the plenary meetings have a bunch of people, and maybe some new interested people would join and listen. So be thinking about whether or not you might like to try to do that for the summer or fall meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think we did one official in-person event. We went to the IETF in 2016 in Berlin, but that was more like the meeting to kick off the work group.
Right, yeah.
And then later, I can't remember, maybe this was, Jerome, do you remember what year we were in Budapest? Maybe it was before the pandemic, 2019, but Michael Richardson chaired an in-person working group meeting. So, but we did it in the context of a conference. So that was like a staged working group meeting. That with a live stream and about 100 people in the audience.
Wow.
The issue, I think the issue that comes up for a lot of us in doing the working group meeting is it's not just the expense of the travel, but then the cost to actually enter the IETF to participate in the meeting is pretty high. So
gotcha.
It's we would have to sort of spend our personal money volunteering.
I'll follow up with you outside of the meeting for options around that. So.
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, there's one meeting in Vienna in July that would probably be the easiest for at least the ones in Europe, so John and me to go.
Yeah, we have a few working group members. Michael Niedermeyer is in there too. Peter Bobestinger is near Vienna, and he's played some roles in as document shepherd and helping out with the documents too. I think Vienna is probably one of the most ideal cities for this working group.
Right. I'll start socializing on the ISG scheduling side. So
what's the date of the Vienna one?
July 18 to 24.
Okay, this year, yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, I've taken a pretty big chunk of our meeting time, and we're getting near the end of the hour. So, is there other topics that we really needed to cover, Spencer?
I have one other question. I had a note on the last meeting minutes about the Audio Vivid 3D audio codec for use with Matroska. Did I see that Steve was going to reply to the request for that on the mailing list?
Yeah, I didn't see that email. I don't remember, but I see that the link that you put in here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I will have to get his email and reply, but basically, I don't know if it should be in Codec, the document we're doing now, or if it should be in the next document, because I think already in the V5 document, so the next main document, we already had some Codec, I don't remember which one, so it could just go in there. We can make the text, add it to the draft, and if they're happy, that will not change unless there was some editorial changes or things like that for the final document. But
Steve, would you be okay to send a proposed reply to the mailing list, just so the rest of us can see it?
Yeah,
that would be great. Thank you. That's everything I had, Robert.
Anyone else have any other business?
I think it is good for me.
Oh, thanks.
I send
Thank you all. Thank you all for your work.
Hang on, Spencer. Martin's got something to say.
Yeah.
I did send a mail about, well, rechartering and maybe including FLAC on that, but I don't know whether that would be considerable, for the lack of a better word. I don't know what stage this rechartering is and whether it is.
We're just beginning to talk about it still.
Okay. Well, I'm still considering whether it would be useful for FLAC because the format has been around for 20 years and there's room for extension, but I don't know whether it's useful to extend it. But if we are in the process of rechartering, it might be worthwhile to consider anyway.
Yeah, if anybody else has opinions about whether or not this group the right place to do it and if now is the right time, getting the messages to the email list would help me the most.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure what is necessary.
We're going to have that conversation, Martin, see if we can get people to engage in it. So thank you. All right. We'll see you on the next column on the list between now and then.
The 24th.
Thanks again, everyone.
maybe at first then.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
And not this year for me at first then, but next year maybe. See you.
Okay.
Cool. Robert, I will. I have a little more cleanup work to do on the minutes, and then I'll upload them to the data tracker.
Thank you.
It is always a pleasure, gentlemen.
Talk to
Thank you.
soon.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.